Kevin O'Connor went from earning six figures at Bank of America to being the host of the most reputable home show in America. He established an empire, earned an Emmy nomination, and amassed a $7 million fortune, but something has been simmering. He declines to give the name of Bob Vila. In public, he criticizes HGTV programming. Cast members continue to retire. And now, odd rumors concerning his future are circulating. Following months of conjecture, Kevin is prepared to speak the truth. His greatest admirers will be shocked by what he discloses. A television set is not where Kevin O'Connor's narrative starts. A construction zone is where it begins. He was born in a house that never felt quite finished in Maplewood, New Jersey, maybe in 1968 or 1969. Raised in a world of scaffolding and sawdust, Kevin had 4 brothers and 2 sisters. Their family home frequently served as a construction site because his father was a civil engineer. The children assisted with pouring concrete and passing hammers around rather than playing tag or riding bikes. Kevin was proficient in measuring wood, hanging drywall, and reading blueprints by the time he entered elementary school. As other children committed times tables to memory, he was learning how to construct a door. For him, it was noisy, chaotic, and perfectly natural. That setting taught him more than simply how to construct things. It made him intuitively aware of how structures function. His instinct would later distinguish him from all other home improvement TV hosts. However, aged 19, life took a turn for the worst. Kevin started blacking out while undergoing military training. Every time, he would simply fall apart. After doing testing, the doctors found a cardiac murmur. It wasn't a small matter. It made him seriously doubt his ability to remain in the service. This is where it becomes peculiar, though. All of his previous medical records disappeared after that diagnosis. No longer there. There was no one who knew why. Later in life, that lost paper trail would be problematic, particularly when he attempted to trace his medical history. His life's course was altered by the incident. Any aspirations he may have had to serve in the military dimmed and were replaced by doubt. And a contingency plan is necessary. He had to reconsider everything, including if a profession with a heart ailment that had no official records was even feasible. Thus, he focused on teaching. His graduation from Newark's St. Benedict's Preparatory School occurred in 1986. Kevin needed the discipline that the strict school required. He continued his education by studying history at the College of the Holy Cross, where he earned his degree in 1990. Although studying history may seem like a strange option for someone who would eventually host a construction show, it helped him develop research abilities, concept connections, and clear communication, all of which would be crucial in the future. However, he was not done yet. After going back to school, he graduated from Boston University in 1999 with an MBA. This paved the way for lucrative business positions. When he completed his studies, he was more than simply a book smarty. He was self-assured enough to compete in boardrooms. It was not merely a job that Kevin got. He started a fast-track career in finance. He began his career with Fleet Bank in the sports finance division. This wasn't your typical desk job. He contributed to the funding of large-scale sports facilities and stadiums. He wasn't only doing math. The areas where cities collected were being built with his assistance. Top executives were impressed by his strategic thinking. A larger opportunity in commercial real estate resulted from that. He quickly rose through the ranks of Bank of America. Kevin was a senior vice president by the time he was in his early 30s. He was in charge of million-dollar investments. He possessed the stock options, bonuses, and salary. Everything that came with living in a high-level business environment. He earned well into the six-figure range. It appeared ideal from the outside. Then he startled them all. Kevin resigned. He left behind a lucrative salary that most people can only imagine, a prominent title, and banking. For what reason? He never forgot the sound of drills, the smell of sawdust, or the tactile sensation of a well-constructed wall. Kevin O'Connor and his spouse Kathleen purchased a stunning Queen and Victorian home in Beverly, Massachusetts, in 2003. When it was constructed in 1894, it appeared to be a dream. However, that fantasy quickly fell apart after they moved in. The house required renovations in every room, including the kitchens, baths, and even the bedrooms. What is the actual nightmare, though? The wall covering. It wasn't merely outdated. It was painted over and over again, layer after layer. Bad design choices were preserved in every room. Kevin and Kathleen scraped those walls for months. Things were made more difficult by the rounded edges that were typical of Victorian architecture. The wallpaper remained in place. As Kevin subsequently stated, "We were scrapping frantically. Additionally, this gunk was simply not coming off." Kathleen was in charge of plastering while Kevin demolished walls and ripped ceilings to make the small kitchen larger. They were totally stranded, worn out, and angry. They sent an email in a moment of extreme desperation. The crew of this old house, who had grown up watching the show, not just anybody else. At the same time, the creators of the show were working on a brand new spin-off called Ask This Old House, which they were unaware about. Nothing could have been more ideal in terms of timing. "There must be a secret method or trick for getting rid of that wallpaper," Kevin stated in the email. He merely cried out for assistance. With no expectations. The team didn't merely offer suggestions in their response. They proposed coming to Kevin's place to visit and shoot a section. Kevin felt ecstatic. His renovating heroes were paying him a one-time visit. However, he was unaware that the purpose of this visit extended beyond wallpaper. A covert screen test was used. The crew recorded Ask This Old House's Season 1, Episode 22, which aired on March 6, 2003. The set was ablaze with Kevin's curiosity. His questioning never stopped. Not even in the middle of lunch. The contractor for the performance, Tom Silva, hardly had time to eat. Later, Kevin joked that he harassed Tom whenever he had a break. But the producers were keeping a tight eye on everything. Beyond a displeased homeowner, they spotted something else. They saw someone who felt like a host, who flowed naturally on camera, and who asked the same questions that viewers at home were asking. Even Kevin ran out to snap a picture with the team after the session. He requested a photograph to save the memory and informed them that he would never see them again. 3 weeks later, however, an unforeseen event occurred. Kevin received a call at work, no less. At the time, he was a senior vice president in Bank of America's commercial real estate division. He thought the phone was ringing to ask for a loan, but it wasn't. He was asked to present the show by the producers of this historic house. Not only the spin-off, but also the first series. It seemed like a joke to him. He even requested that his job be kept open by his supervisor because he was certain that he would return to the bank in a year. That was how surreal it was. It was real, though. The producers wanted more than just him. They were willing to risk the show's entire future on him. And it was a significant event. Because this old house has previously undergone 2 fairly significant changes. First up was Bob Vila. He was the show's first host, beginning in 1979, and helped make it a household name. At first, however, Vila only made $200 every episode. His earnings per episode were only $800, even in his last seasons. His total earnings during a 10-year period in 235 episodes ranged from $47,000 to $188,000, which is less than what many contractors make in a single year. Vila started doing advertisements for Rickle Home Centers, which was when the real trouble started. In the meanwhile, Home Depot and Wire USR were sponsoring the program. Although PBS approved him, the station withdrew its support. The program or the $500,000 endorsement contract were the options they advised him to pick. Vila decided on the cash. He was sacked right away. A news release informed his agency of the situation. Then Steve Thomas arrived. During his 14 years as a host, he even took home an Emmy in 1998. However, he suddenly vanished from television in 2003 when he was 50. There was no farewell episode or major declaration, just a vague mention of wanting to ski and sail. Insiders thought it strange. This historic mansion was the highest-rated show in its category thanks to his assistance. Abruptly, however, he vanished, working on smaller DIY network shows. Viewers were left perplexed. The producers felt anxious. There would be a great deal of pressure on whoever followed. The individual they chose, however, had no prior TV experience. Kevin O'Connor never went to try out. He never sent in his resume. He never applied for the position. But he understood. To find a replacement for Thomas, the producers vetted over 400 applicants. They stopped looking after they had one session with Kevin. After receiving the offer, Kevin sat in beach chairs in a basement with Russell Morrish, the show's creator. That was the informality of it. The show had a very clear rationale for hiring Moorish, who had been there since 1979. He claimed that we had discovered the ideal balance of zeal and optimism in Kevin. To survive, an elderly homeowner needs two things. There were no handshakes or small talk when Kevin O'Connor entered this old mansion in 2003. He was given a shovel by Richard Trethway, the show's straightforward plumbing and heating expert. Suddenly, Kevin, a former senior vice president at Bank of America, was digging ditches for sewer lines. This was no drama on TV. The task was serious and very demanding. It was not faked by cameras. Avoid taking quick cuts. Richard was putting him to the test. Did Kevin show up to play the role, or did he have to earn it? A lesson was learned from every blister and perspiration drop. According to Kevin, the most crucial guideline was imparted to him in those early days. Give the professionals the lead and stop talking and start listening. His entire career would be defined by that challenging lesson. Richard wasn't the only one who was torturing him. The show's master carpenter, Tom Silva, also tossed him into the deep end. He didn't ask Kevin to act like he had a saw. Knowing that the cameras would record every error, he instructed him to cut genuine wood for real constructions. A polished TV host didn't appeal to Tom. He was looking for a person who could actually learn the craft, not just talk about it. In order to operate properly without slowing down the crew, Kevin had to spend hours off camera learning how to wield tools and take precise measurements. He was more than just a host. The squad was starting to include him. Viewers could tell, too. As in their own garages and backyards, they watched him struggle, grow, and learn. Then, an unexpected surprise arrived. In 2004, just a year after he started working on the show, Kevin received an Emmy nomination. The host of the service show is excellent. Even though he hadn't yet discovered his rhythm, the business recognized something. Critics were taken aback by that nomination because they believed a financial guy had no right to anchor a technical show. It had taken years for Steve Thomas and Bob Vela to establish their reputations. Kevin finished in a single season. His honesty, his curiosity, and his ability to relate to specialists. Such things were important. That Emmy nod was proof of that. He wasn't merely entertaining. He was altering the way that television viewers viewed home renovation. During those early years, Kevin underwent a change. Asking inquiries while standing off to the side wasn't something he enjoyed. His favorite activity was diving in, placing bricks while brandishing a hammer. Working hard with the crew. And then everything was different. Rather than serving as an instructor for the audience, Kevin became a student himself. He made interviews into collaborations. In addition to responding to his inquiries, the specialists were educating him. Millions of viewers were being educated in the process. Kevin became more relatable as a result of this hands-on approach, which also gave the show a more genuine and authentic tone. And that's precisely why viewers continue to watch. Ask This Old House had the same genuineness. The show was first intended to seem like a magazine part when it debuted in 2002. However, it expanded into something far larger after Kevin joined. He was more than a guest host. He got his hands filthy, went to real houses, and handled genuine problems. The fact that he was hired in the first place was what made this crazy. While taking down the wallpaper in his own house, he was caught. Not a single TV experience. Just an individual in need of assistance with a project. Kevin was at the heart of the program, which had been running for over 20 years by 2025. In addition to becoming the show's host, he also joined the editorial board of this vintage house magazine, helping to shape the articles that were published in print and on television. It was hard to fathom Kevin's ascent from finance to franchise builder, but he wasn't finished yet. Yes, in 2003, the year he started hosting This Old House, he also started a third program called Inside This Old House. Behind-the-scenes glimpses into the most noteworthy projects in the show's history were provided. What's crazy is that he continued to work at Bank of America while juggling all three shows simultaneously. He remained employed until he was certain that he could succeed in this line of business. His triumph was all the more spectacular for exercising that kind of prudence. He wasn't trying to get famous. He was creating a lasting structure. Additionally, Inside This Old House introduced fans to the franchise's past while further immersing Kevin in the house remodeling industry. He accomplished a feat in 2010 that no other host of This Old House had. He leaped to commercial television. With this new house on DIY Network, Kevin seamlessly transitioned from public television to cable. New building techniques and smart house technology were highlighted on the presentation, which Amy Matthews co-hosted. New format, new audience, it was a risk, but it paid off. The program received 2 Emmy nominations, and Kevin demonstrated his leadership abilities in both the commercial and PBS arenas. He was chosen by the network specifically because of his ability to communicate complicated ideas in simple terms. His combination of genuine education and TV credibility made him one of the most reputable figures in the field. His most personal endeavor, a book, followed. Kevin published The Best Homes from This Old House in 2011, which included more than 200 images, showcasing the show's most striking changes throughout its history. It was unique because it was very personal. Together with his college friend Mike Casey, who took the pictures, he produced it. A best-selling book, 2 pals, and a single idea. Fans have the first opportunity to explore completed homes in depth and hear behind-the-scenes tales. It went beyond windows and walls. It was about families, individuals, beauty, and craftsmanship. Kevin joined This Old Home magazine's editorial board as a result of the book's successful sales. The brand was now shaped by his voice on all platforms, including digital, print, TV, and books. Kevin O'Connor didn't intend to stir up trouble, but one interview completely upended the home remodeling industry. When asked about contemporary do-it-yourself shows, he didn't mince words. He referred to the majority of them as shit. Not only boring or indolent, but worthless in every way. Some of them, he claimed, were too short to capture his attention. That single sentence swept the business like wildfire. The audience was astonished. Other hosts were incensed. It wasn't simply anybody talking. It was the face of the most reputable brand in renovation television. Kevin doubled down rather than backed down. He argued these shows were deceiving the public with their glitzy weekend makeovers, illogical expenditures, and unrealistic timeframes. He cautioned that attempts to replicate these changes at home were unsuccessful. Not because they were not intelligent. However, the shows were phony. That triggered a reaction. Several insiders commended his candor. According to others, he was attempting to control who could teach home improvement and was acting haughtily. Kevin, however, wasn't merely venting. He was establishing a boundary between instruction and entertainment. On the one hand, there were networks like HGTV that turned remodeling into reality television. Kevin stood proudly on PBS, which was dedicated to teaching practical skills. He referred to it as the war of philosophy. He claimed that waste was fostered by television shows. Make a house look nice, flip it quickly, and then sell it for a profit. But he wanted to draw attention back to genuine craftsmanship and a house's foundation. Even these ostentatious performances were harmful, he said. They convinced them that they could completely remodel their kitchen in a single weekend. And such a belief could cause actual harm. HGTV celebs quickly began retaliating. They claimed that Kevin was unaware of their target audience. They had no cathedrals to build. They were assisting ordinary people in thinking that they could change things at home. Kevin didn't flinch when the gap widened. What Kevin didn't discuss, however, was what people found most perplexing. The man who founded this historic home in 1979 and fled under a cloud in 1989 was Bob Vila. Kevin didn't bring him up at all. Bob was hosting a show on public television and earning $500,000 annually from endorsements. His endorsement of a competitor store to Home Depot, which supported the show, sparked a scandal. Despite being evicted, Kevin remains silent. No word for over 2 decades. No honor. No bias. Not a thing. According to insiders, the quiet is intentional. And clever move. In the realm of house remodeling, Vila is still quite popular. Bringing up the past could only cause old scars to revive. Always taking the long view, Kevin avoids conflicts that don't help him. In this way, even when things became heated, he maintained friendships with people on both sides of the profession. However, there is one area in which Kevin won't keep quiet. Workmanship. If you say something disparaging about the way houses were constructed a century ago, he will correct you. Old builders, he claims, weren't dumb. They used what they had to make wise decisions. The cost of coal was low. Insulation made of fiberglass was non-existent. Moreover, power tools? Don't remember it. Indeed, some houses lacked insulation, but
Back then, though, that made sense.
Kevin claims that contemporary builders quickly make fun of these decisions without properly analyzing the situation. Additionally, he opposes the tiny house trend. Small is greener is a popular saying.
Kevin counters, however, that inefficiency isn't always correlated with scale.
He asserts that a badly constructed 1,000 square foot home from 15 years ago can consume more energy than a contemporary 5,000 square foot one. He got into a fight with sustainability experts over that, but he doesn't seem to mind.
He wants people to comprehend before passing judgment.
A man who has done quite well for himself is the driving force behind all of these ideas. For This Old House and Ask This Old House, Kevin makes about $10,000 per episode. Millions of dollars were made solely from television, with over 380 episodes hosted as of 2022.
Think about Bob Vila, who, in their early days, only made $200 every episode, but by the end, they were making $800. Kevin's rate is over a dozen times greater. Each season, Vila earned between $500 and $200.
In today's currency, that amounts to almost $15,000.
Comparatively, Kevin did that in 2 episodes.
His current net worth is thought to be between $5 million and $7.68 million.
Television isn't the only source of revenue, though. A well-known figure on the speaking circuit is Kevin.
He earns anywhere from $15,000 to $50,000 for each keynote. He is not a man who simply shows up and talks about hammers. Entire industries are energized by him. He was the featured speaker at Equip Exposition, a sizable landscaping trade exhibition in Kentucky, in 2024. His discussion, sponsored by Cress, covered equipment, the future of contracting, and keeping up with changes in the industry.
These are not merely financial speeches. Influence is the key.
They give him the opportunity to network with business executives, builders, and manufacturers.
He's not merely a host anymore. He's a leader.
Additionally, that reach makes smart acquisitions, investments, and collaborations possible.
Kevin's previous life enters the picture at this point. He had a strong background in real estate financing before to TV. He arranged multi-million euro loans for developers and professional sports teams while serving as a vice president at Fleet Bank and Bank of America. He gained the kind of insider knowledge that most TV hosts lack because of it. He can recognize a wise investment. He has deal-making skills. He also understands how to turn money become reality. As the CEO of Bridge, he has covertly invested $5.1 million in business stock. His annual income from those assets is about $1.5 million. Additionally, he didn't purchase a gaudy new home for his family. A Queen and Victorian home in Hamilton, Massachusetts, was purchased by him in 1894. It's not merely a house. It's a space that reflects his brand and beliefs, a statement, and a focal point. A show was not simply handed down to Kevin O'Connor. He left a legacy.
And in some way, he sustained it at some of its most trying times.
The largest obstacle appeared in October 2022. This Old House's soulmate, Norm Abram, retired.
In 1979, he had been there since the first episode.
43 years of sweat, sawdust, and unparalleled craftsmanship are reflected in it. The carpenter wasn't all he was. When Bob Vila left, Norm took over as the show's spokesperson.
Norm directed the projects, explained the difficult parts, and even filled in when Kevin had to take a break, such as when Kevin's baby was born. It felt like a piece of the show's essence was gone when Norm left. However, Kevin remained calm. The transfer was meticulously prepared by him. He made sure the audience wasn't confused. He kept Norm's personality alive on screen while gradually introducing fresh faces. A similar situation occurred in 2020 when Roger Cook's health issues forced him to quit. Since joining in 1982, Roger has been the quiet landscape specialist who infuses every yard with wisdom and serenity for almost 40 years. Again, Kevin handled things carefully, but his absence might have created a void. Gradually, he introduced Jen Nawada to ensure that the presentation continued to feel like this ancient mansion, not a restart. Kevin handled these changes so well because he appreciated the past without becoming mired in it. He did more than simply swap out people. He passed the mantle in a way that preserved the show's identity. Kevin didn't stop with cast changes, though. He was aware that television viewing was evolving as well. Thus, he altered the structure without sacrificing the unique qualities of the show.
During the Bob Vila era, a single, lengthy take, sometimes lasting 12 minutes, would show Bob touring a location and going over everything.
They would shoot scenes that lasted 4 to 6 minutes without any cuts, even in Kevin's early days. Attention spans are shorter today, though.
Kevin made a change. These days, a camera shot lasts seconds rather than minutes. Faster, sharper, and tighter segments are present.
The show, however, never became flimsy. He also changed his queries.
He started off by posing as the inquisitive homeowner. What is this?
He gradually posed more in-depth queries.
What is the process here? Furthermore, why is this done this way?
Without sacrificing the approachable tone for beginners, he leveraged his more than 2 decades of knowledge to provide viewers with more insightful responses. Kevin also maintained the show's methodical, slow-moving style. Only 2 complete renovations are done on this old house per season, in contrast to other home programs that complete 5 tasks in a single episode.
It's that simple.
Every step is demonstrated, however, and every issue is described.
The how is still as important as the wow. That's what devoted viewers adore.
Kevin was prepared for the digital age when it arrived. His Clear Story was launched in October of 2019. A podcast that explores the backstories of home automation systems. It was insightful, intelligent, and captivating, not just filler material. Everything from how Windows operate to why Las Vegas might be the key to cheaper water bills was discussed. With a 4.8 out of 5-star rating on Apple and a placement in the top 1% of all streamed podcasts, the show became a hit.
This historic home makes a daring relocation in 2021. It collaborated with Roku. You can now stream all 1,500 episodes of Ask This Old House and This Old House for free. Even a 24-hour streaming channel is available. Fans will no longer need a cable to tune in at any time on any device. Kevin did not end there.
This Old Toolbox, a tool rental website designed for do-it-yourselfers, was co-founded by him. It wasn't merely a business decision.
It was a certain vision's next step.
Directly relating the educational content of the show to the equipment people require to perform their jobs. That being said, Kevin O'Connor does more than just host a home remodeling show. He also modernizes a format, expands into new platforms, and creates connections between education, media, and real-world action.